Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Into the Ether podcast, where we bridge the intersection of health, human behavior, and machine intelligence. I'm very excited to be joined by our special guest. I'm here with Lalitha, CEO and founder of Hikigai Inc., a pre-seed healthcare AI startup that's taken a fundamentally different approach to AI in healthcare. Hikigai is where human care meets intelligent automation and the future of documentation becomes invisible. What's fascinating about Hikigai is they're not only building another AI chatbot for healthcare, but pioneering large language action models that actually take actionable steps in healthcare workflows. Welcome, Lalitha. Really excited to have you here. If we could start off by, in your own words, sharing the mission and plan of Hikigai and how they help the healthcare industry.
Thank you very much, Shaurya. Pleasure to be here with you and share some great insights about what Hikigai is doing. So, the mission for Hikigai is to be acquiring as much knowledge as possible about health and creating it to become more human and reducing the grunt work of what doctors are going through, which burnout is actually existing and real, and making it more seamless and more optimized for them, where they pay attention to the patients more, which is precisely what they were trained for. So that's our intent. And in the process of becoming a health professional over the last 3 decades, I've seen a lot of change with what's the healthcare spaces today, and I see from what the future is evidently putting forward for us, AI is definitely going to be an integral part of it. And so that's why Hikigai is definitely a great platform that can kind of tie in with that to show that it's more of an enabler, if anything else, than actually, causing to become more of a concern for people, where people are thinking about jobs going away or people are thinking about professions being changed. But I feel that AI can be of an more of an enabler, if anything else, to speed up some of the grunt work that we do and maybe make us more efficient in what we do in many sense.
That's a very good point and an amazing mission statement. I think a lot of people do forget that someone needs to run the AI at all times. It can't just take over all of the humans in the company. So it's a very, very valuable insight to add there. And I guess in terms of your journey, how did your journey lead to founding Hikigai and eventually turning into the company that it is today?
Well, that's a very interesting story because being that I have a healthcare background as a registered dietitian and a health coach, it was just around the time of COVID when all of this kind of just rattled in my brain, and I was thinking it is time for me to make a change when most people were sitting down and in the between the four walls, we had a lot of time to think for ourselves. And that's really when I realized that we are going to be very soon moving on to the technology space where everything on all what we want to seek and gather information is going to be in that space. So considering that, I wanted to create a wellness app. Actually, that's how the whole idea started. But then we led on to some great people who joined hands with me, who were also technologically very sound and who've had extremely good, experience with knowledge and knowledge graph, which actually is the accumulation of knowledge in health. And that kind of gave birth to Hikigai, where Hikigai basically is the purpose of health. If you do remember, Ikigai is the philosophy that we follow, the Japanese philosophy for purpose of life. We have integrated the H in there to make it purpose of health, because I think that's a very important aspect of how we can provide more proactive wellness and be more prepared for how we can eliminate a lot of the chronic disease conditions that's really kind of curbing our world and causing most of the pandemic conditions was also caused because of some of the chronic conditions. So that led me to joining hands with three other founders, and we had Hikigai, which is now functional for the last year and a half or two now. And we're focusing right now on the US grounds, but we've definitely got a lot. We want to also, collect data from India because the four founders are of Asian Indian origin also.
It's amazing. And yeah, I was just about to dive into the crossing between the USA and Indian market. If I'm not wrong, you're building a remote first team across both markets. How does that kind of global perspective influence your healthcare AI approach?
Well, I should give kudos to our CTO for that. And from day one, I think he is a big believer that working remotely kind of gives you a lot of freedom, and at the same time, it also gives you the edge of trying to be available all and every time. So it kind of balances it out very well. But that said, we are a very small, intimate team of about 8 to 10 engineers, and we are kind of spread out. We just have one person working in the US with us, but the rest of our team is actually in India, and we are spread out. We've got like a nice demographics spread out in the Indian diaspora, where recently that was the first time in about 2 years we actually met each person in person for a retreat, and it was quite amazing where we all got together and we were put together in a nice retreat place, and we shared some great quality time for about a week, and that certainly was very refreshing. But needless to say, I think the team has been very efficient and functional in terms of providing and delivering what they have to. So it has been a great experience so far working in that remote setting.
That's really powerful. And I guess the only thing that people say about remote working is that the cultural aspect isn't there. You can't build a team culture. What would you say to anyone who's kind of on the fence about starting a remote only team?
Well, I kind of agree to disagree, because the way and pace in which we are moving, we've seen this in really very disparity. We have seen that even during COVID, we did function and the world functioned. It was a little bit of a chaos, and people are asked to come back to work these days. For example, my husband is in the engineering field, and he's been asked to come back to work. And if you're in a factory setting, it's probably important. But when you're using technology space, I think it's a little bit more flexible. But as far as the culture is concerned, I think it really depends on how you communicate with the team, what kind of initiatives you create. When we are actually having the standalone the meetings every day, we actually are able to discuss everything apart from work. Also, we do consider taking into account the flexibility of their timings, whether it's a male or a female. If there is other requirements that's concerned with the family, we do address that. But we do put them in a space where they're given time. If you're able to actually deliver within about 10 hours, and where you have to do the work for 10 days, that's your capability. So if you're able to deliver that, then why not? And as we see it, we're talking about Steve Jobs, or we're talking about many of these people who are actually talking about 4 day working days in a week, and it's actually going to come down where you're given more quality time. I think the culture was for many years, especially after we got industrialized and with the evolution, that we were forced to be sitting in our seats and be working for about 5 days a week. That culture needs to slowly change, where you're able to go out and provide more time, family time, recreation time, and at the same time take care of work too. So our intent and on the culture that we have developed is to be working alongside with your lifestyle that matches with your work style too. That's the culture we've built, and thankfully we've had some really good responsive employees with us, and we're very thankful about that they've been extremely conducive to our culture. So it's been vibing well, and we're hoping that it works this way to continue.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be honest. Like, all our teams are pretty remote as well, with, as you mentioned, some meetups and something to look forward to where you're actually going to meet the team. And I think it's much more powerful because, as you mentioned, the 5 day week, what happens is people go out on the weekend and then they reset, go out on the weekend and reset, and it becomes a repetitive cycle. People get burnt out. But having that balance is crucial to kind of building a successful company all year round. Okay, so that's amazing. In terms of more the specifics, if someone was, or if a doctor was to open up your platform, how would that look like on a doctor's perspective?
Well, simply put, it would be a walk in, walk out response for them, where today, for every doctor, once they start their day, by the end of the day, they're more exhausted, not actually seeing the patients, Sharia. They're more exhausted about documentation. Burnout is real, and that happens to them because they're also as human as we are. And once they put on that white coat, we forget that. And so we are definitely, as patients, from the patient perspective, because I've seen both sides of it, both as a patient or as a healthcare professional, I believe that it's very important to address their health conditions, their presence of mind. They're not getting burnt out, so they're able to deliver their best for us. So Hikigai, in many sense, is the best ally for every doctor's office. It's an extension of their practice. We are not a disruption to their practice. We are not in the intention of taking away that excellent quality time that they're able to give to the patient. So more empathy time is what we're looking for, where the grunt work of documentation, orders that they have to put in place, whether it be pharmacy orders or lab orders, addressing some of the conditions that may go misdiagnosed or misdiagnosed, both ways, right? Because there's a lot of conditions that may not be completely put in front of the doctor at that particular time that they are able to actually do with the patient. So we are the real time diagnostic tool that we are able to provide to the doctor as the doctor talks. We also have a phenomenal AI scribe that we're going to be offering free to the market very soon, and this is eternally free. There is no hooks or there's no agenda added to it. And that's going to be a big enabler for the doctors in real time, where they're able to actually converse with the patient, record their conversation, bring that out, bring the lab orders, bring the the pharmaceutical orders for the patient, and also bring in real-time chatbot for the doctor and for the patient, where they're able to actually discuss each patient's case. So this is all leading towards personalized medicine. Eventually, when people are able to bring in more genetic coding and more about microbiome and gut health, we'll probably be able to kind of indulge more deeply into the personalized medicine. But for now, I think the best way you could look at Hikigai is that we are the ally for the doctors, and we are an extension of the doctor's practice, starting off from scheduling the appointments all the way till billing and claims. So the whole operation taken care of with the space of AI.
That's amazing, and I'm sure most all doctors will appreciate that service as it makes their life a lot easier on a day-to-day basis. And you touched on the the personalized aspect. Why is personalized healthcare important in the future, and how does not having personalized healthcare impact patients today?
Very good question, Shaurya. Let me kind of give you a perspective from my specialty, especially with being a dietitian and a health coach. Just looking at personalizing your health for diet or for your eating habits. Many a times we kind of get lost with the lost in the realm of things that's available to us out there. There's so much information, but we don't realize that not all of these diets, not all of these meal plans and wellness plans can be conducive to your lifestyle, right? So sustainability is very important. And it's also important that we don't have one cookie cutter type diet or one meal plan that can fit all. The genetics matters, the environment matters, the demographics matters, the lifestyle matters, and there is so much more involved with it. So taking that into consideration, and like I said, sustainability is more important. I always tell my clients that do something that is effective and that's small changes, but do something that's going to stay with you as a change, that it doesn't go back where there's a yo-yo effect. So that put in perspective, if you're able to translate that to personalized medicine, we are at a point where we are realizing with the advancement of AI, as we spoke about it earlier too, that there is a space where every individual is going to be considered for their print in terms of their genetic predisposition, in terms of their gut microbiome health, in terms of their lifestyle, and in terms of their ethnicity, a lot of things that needs to be taken into consideration. When you're talking about this, personalized medicine is definitely the next segue that we should lead on to, because only when we do that, we are being able to cater to each person, even though it may not be specifically each individual, at least within a certain ethnicity. Like if it's Asian Indians, they have certain predisposition to certain diseases. If there is, people from Mexico, or if there are people from Africa, these different backgrounds that we're able to bring in. That's really where personalized medicine will play a big role. And I think Hikigai is a great platform to lead us to in that direction.
I agree, and I think a lot of people just follow generalized advice, which is not their fault. It's what they're being taught from it on a day-to-day basis and their whole life. And the education aspect is so important to getting that customer out there, and accessibility as well. And I think that's what AI will do. And is that the best way that you can explain that Hikigai is tackling the personalized healthcare for the customer?
Mm-hmm.
Is it more of a quiz format, and then it gives out the person's exact details, and how does that kind of back end work on that?
So, great question again. And we do have, besides the actual platform that's available to the doctors, we also have a patient app that's going to be enabling for the patients, nudging them about their physicals that they have to do, their wellness plans that they have to keep accountable for. That little nudge that you're also able to do with different types of gaming, models, where we're able to ask the patient, how are you doing today? How are you feeling today? So these kind of little nudges will lead them on to being able to give us prompters that also helps us to look at their stress levels, look at their lifestyle, look at their eating habits in many ways. And this also kind of translates to connecting with other wearable devices, right? If you have an Apple Watch, or if you have a Google Health device, or if you have a Noom device or an app that you're using, all of these can be integrated into our platform, and we can get a 360 view or a digital twin made of each person. And at that point, talking about personalized wellness and personalized medicine is definitely a good. I wouldn't say it's still a utopia world that we're talking about. We're still not there, we're building it, but very soon we should see that as a reality.
Yeah, and having that as an extension, not only for the doctor but an extension of the patient, is what I think will be crucial, because people follow it maybe for like a week, 2 weeks, and then forget about it.
Exactly.
So it's that consistency element will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also having a thorough follow up, because that there is still a disconnect between your doctors and the patients. We don't see just one doctor anymore. And there were days where back in India we used to have just one doctor who we would address for everything, our PCP or our primary care physician. It was the case maybe 30, 40 years ago here in US too. But now that's changed. We do address different doctors. And then there is also self-medication, because people think that they know it and they kind of start doing things on their own. And there's alternative medicine that they also, engage with. So there is so much that needs to be kept, you got to keep a tab on. So the platform basically is just nudging both the doctor and the patient to keep them in a good sync, where the patient and the doctor is able to communicate with each other, and both are being accountable for how they're able to keep up with their health conditions, right? In many sense, if the doctor is not able to keep in speed with telling the patient or nudging the patient about her mammogram, or asking the patient to do her physical, or asking his patient to do a colonoscopy. These are reminders that can be set in with our platform, that not only nudges the doctor to give a reminder, but also reminds the patient. So both are accountable. In many sense, I think this is a very empowering platform, and it probably enables both the doctor and the patient to be at their best.
Amazing. And in terms of your approach when you're recommending these medicines, I'm always interested about the craze that's come over like the Western, especially in the UK, USA, in terms of traditional medicine that we might have seen in India and other countries as well, Japan, and that being compared now to modern medicine. Does your platform kind of level out and balance and provide traditional ways to improve health, or does it only go after the physician's advice?
Well, see, the traditional medicine is something that is still in its works. There is a lot of scientific evidence we require. that can help us back up the information. True that today, for example, a good one is talking about turmeric being a fantastic antioxidant. It has got a lot of anti-inflammatory properties, and this is just from a nutritional perspective, right? There was times when we were talked about it as kids, where our grandma used to tell us, use turmeric in your cooking, use turmeric in your water. It's a great source of antiseptic and all that. But today you see turmeric tablets being sold in the markets, and that's probably gone to a level where it's a concentrated source of turmeric being provided, where at home when you eat it, and on each household or a traditional medicine, there is only a small amount that you take in. If these are able to translate to scientific evidence, and more, if that space is kind of, there is more, it's more backing there. USA, for a matter of fact, is just slowly getting into that space. There are other countries that probably have kind of jumped into that a little bit more. And I know there are countries in Europe too that has done it more. But in USA, the FDA approval is very stringent and very particular about how some of these traditional medicines come in place. There are more Ayurvedic centers here, there are more functional medicine places here. But then, yet, unless we have the scientific evidence of actually having done peer review studies, we would not be able to bring that to the forefront, even to the doctor's attention, to tell them, hey, this is what's happening. But at least what we could do to help the doctors is tell the doctor, if the particular patient is taking any alternative medicine or traditional medicine, inform the doctor that the person is doing so, that there could be other interactions with the medications or the treatment that's happening with allopathy. So that's one of the most important things, how we see of providing that information to the doctor. Because I have seen, as a nutritionist too, I've seen a lot of people using supplements, using over the counter medications, and that can be a serious concern with drug interactions and medications that you're taking, that's prescribed medications, and for many conditions. So you got to be addressing that to the doctor, at least to make the doctor aware that a particular traditional treatment that the patient is doing, if he or she is from a different country or different ethnicity, that needs to be addressed.
That's an amazing insight. And I think where a lot of the traditional stuff can be a cash grab for companies because it's the fad or it can be marketed easily, is be very careful and I guess, as you said, communicate with the physicians what exactly the patient is doing. Amazing. I think that will give everyone a really good insight of the personalized side of healthcare. Now, in terms of Hikigai's kind of market challenges, those are some of the positives about the company and the amazing work it does. How have you found, as a pre-seed, competing with companies who have maybe larger funding to begin with, and that kind of backing, and how have you found breaking into the market?
Excellent question, and that's probably our the biggest puzzle that we need to solve, and we're solving it one at a time. But yes, it is not easy, especially when you have the disruption that's happening all at once. AI is now disrupting not just one space, it's disrupting a lot of spaces together, right? So everything is in a shake right now. Everybody is still a little alarmed about what's happening around them. And as we converse with doctors about this, the biggest challenges that we see is, number one, for them to be even having the time to be able to talk to us. Because, like I said, many of these EHR systems, which are legacy systems, are now even kind of going through a revamp to be more up to date and be more faster and quicker and efficient in providing their features to the doctors. While they're doing that, and the doctor is actually in the process of learning and adapting to that system, now one more system in place is going to kind of just push them, give them an alarm, and kind of they're going to like, whoa, this is too much for us, right? So that startle is something that one of the challenges that we face with the doctors. But we've done a great job in terms of how we've done some market research, bringing out the pain points, of course, by word of mouth. One doctor uses it and then the other kind of follows up with it. And we've been doing a lot of marketing in terms of LinkedIn appearance and podcast appearance. But the work is in progress, is what I would say, Shaurya. As far as the funding goes, that's another one difficult nut to crack, and we are in the process. started off doing this where we were self-funded as founders. We all put the money together and we've kind of made our way in terms of building this phenomenal product that we have today, the platform. But going forward, we are looking for more support in terms of how we would be able to fund it for the next steps going forward, if that's going to be able to accelerate not just sales, but accelerate our open outer avenue, not just for the US, but also take it over and beyond to other countries. So we are constantly on the run for looking out for like-minded people and VCs and investors who would be able to help us out with that. And that's a constant process, and that's what the CEO has always got to do. So we are on the run for that. But I think it's an interesting way of putting it together. It's been a challenge, but yet a lot of fun in doing that. And I think it all depends on how passionate and how much you believe in the platform and in the product. Once you truly are completely sold out and you believe that this product is something that has to be in the market, I think you can sell well too. So yeah, it's a constant process.
Amazing. No, I hear that. I actually hear that a lot between commonalities when speaking to CEOs and founders. Is the startup is the most fun phase where you have like the small team that you can keep connection with, but also the most challenging is, and then
Certainly.
the ones that can make it through and balance those really break through the market and eclipse that 10-year golden mark as a company. That's always there. But I agree on the healthcare is notoriously slow in advancing technology, let alone AI in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there has been more resistance because of AI? And do you see the trend increasing and found physicians or hospitals? And who's your target market? Do you directly go to the doctors or would it be to the hospitals?
Very good question. Thank you so much. And our first off, our target market and our first customers, we are a B2B model right now, and we provide that through the SaaS model. We are looking for individual doctors at this point, we who are in private practice, and more specifically, before we hit these specialty practices, we want to reach out to primary care physicians. And in the US, that is another big challenge because most of these primary care physicians or private practices are now kind of networking with bigger hospital chains, and that gives us lesser opportunities. But there is still there's more than 1 million primary care physicians in private practice, or primary care physicians, I must say. So even if we are able to just target those primary care physicians, we are still talking about a big chunk that can be revenue streaming for us. It's just that the resistance that's happening right now, like I told you, Sharia, is mainly because AI has kind of startled everybody, and that in itself is kind of a pushback. But that said, they are realizing that their work is going to become more streamlined, and there are doctors who we do see, not to be discriminating with any particular category or anything, but we do see people who are seasoned, who've been in practice for 30 years, who've been in practice for 3 decades or more. They're probably not the people who are readily saying that, okay, let's do this or let's start off with this. But people who are coming newly into the practice, or graduates, or who have just become medical doctors, they're probably looking at this as a very innovative approach for themselves. And yet we do see the spectrum on both sides. There are seasoned doctors who are actually been in practice for 15 years and they want that change. But when that change can happen is also very critical, because we can't blame them completely that they are not able to accept this change, because the EHR system in itself was a big burden on them. The promises that were made that EHR system can streamline the entire workflow for them is not so. Let's get that real at the and so we need to understand that they're already kind of buried in a lot of documentation process. And so one more to add on to that would be something that it'll definitely startle them. But our effort is consciously to bring that trust factor for them, where we are able to bring that as a trial, where we are able to do a POC and we're able to work with them, train with them, have our people available for them to be able to understand how we can easily integrate with EHR systems. Another important thing is if you are not FHIR approved, compliant, which is actually the fire compliance that you need for these EHR systems, then that's another big hurdle. So Hikigai is actually compliant, and we are also integrated with the FHIR or fire approved. So that's one of the important things. And also HIPAA compliance is another important thing. So once this is in place, then you are able to build the confidence of whether it be doctors or then going on to bigger healthcare centers. But right now, our focus is not hospitals yet. Our next version that's coming up is going to be ready for hospitals. But right now, we're very well equipped with agentic force, and we've in par with, we've already built about 9 to 10 agents that can actually handle the entire process that I was talking about seamlessly for doctors. So it's a constant, run again there.
That's again really powerful because a lot of companies focus more on the marketing front approach, but the product does the marketing. So I think it's an excellent approach to go forward, build an excellent product first, and
Yes,
then go when it's actually ready for people, because then the feedback adoption will speak for itself.
bingo, bingo. You got that. You got that. So with the very small team that you've, very intimate team that we have had, we have been working out. I shouldn't, kind of hoot my own horns, but needless to say, I should say we definitely have a state of art, platform in front of us, and hoping that people are able to use it more and see the effect of it, and also benefit from it.
And what's the feedback been like from the people, from doctors actually who've used the product, and some insights about how actually they've experienced it? How has that gone so far?
Actually, very good. We've done, our market research at least with more than about 50 doctors. We're in the process of actually engaging with a practice in the Midwest, because that's where I belong. So I've been working very strongly with some of the doctors that I know and from my previous network. And people who have seen it have definitely kind of had a wow factor for it. And they see that this can be an enabler for them. And like I said, to be able to actually see it and to be able to use it are two different things. So reviews are great, and getting responses for it is wonderful. But I think the real time engagement is what's going to make the difference. And that's what we're working on one step at a time to be able to talk to the doctors. In fact, we're in the process of even creating the AI agents for our sales, where we don't need to have people go talk to doctors. We're able to make this automate that as well. So hopefully, we're able to engage with that, and everything kind of has to fall in place, and that happens one thing at a time. Like you said so rightly, we have a very strong product. We have a great foundation. The house is ready, so it needs to be used now.
100%. Get it out to the right customers.
Yes, yes.
And I guess another aspect of your research element, you recently partnered with a university, if I'm not wrong. How is that kind of research collaboration, and what does it unlock for you, I guess, in terms of partnering with a university? How does it help your research, as well as how does it help development of your product?
Thanks for that question. And again, I think it's a very important aspect of how educational institutions are the key for all research that happens. And the young minds are very innovative and very charged up. So this collaboration that we have is with a university in the south of India. It's called Amrita University. It's a university which actually has got an AI department, which is exclusive for research in the AI and healthcare space. And in India, from what we see, there is not yet a large language model that's built specifically in the healthcare space to address the Indian demographics and to look at the health aspects of the Indian demographics. The Indian government is also working towards doing that and digitalizing. While that's going on in a very nascent stage and slow pace, our effort is to create a large language model exclusively for the Indian diaspora. And that's where we're collaborating with the university, tied up with a huge hospital that they have in Faridabad, which has got about 2,000 beds. And so that's going to be our biggest, research project, where we're able to bring in students We've got interns who are going to be working with us in the AI lab. We've actually inaugurated an AI lab in Coimbatore in Amrita University in the south of India. And that's going to also be tied up with, PhD students doing some research for us. And in the process, we're also wanting to create some patent projects that patents that we want to work on for these large language models.
Amazing. Yes, it's really amazing to see the technologically advancements, you could say, the advancements India's making and providing technology to a lot of people, making
Yes,
it more accessible and allowing those kind of integrations to occur on a large scale. Because I think there's so many talented people, and that's what was missing for a long time.
absolutely.
So that's amazing to hear that you're on the forefront of that as well. And I guess in 5 years' time, if you could paint a picture, where would you see Hikigai?
That's a very interesting question. If you ask me as a CEO, I want to see this as a unicorn and the company that needs to be the one stop shop that people reach out to in terms of all your engagement to make healthcare as human as possible, where the engagement is not just beneficial for the care providers, but it's also beneficial to the care receivers. Envision this to be a state of the art company, which we are already, but that being at acceptance stage in 5 years is how I see it. And a globally, a recognized company is how I see it also, because the way we have built the platform, it's definitely conducive to using it in different parts of the world. Our hope and prayer is that we want to see this to be the platform that can be an enabler to doctors and physicians and make their life more quality based, where they're able to address to their clients more effectively.
Amazing. I think it's a very commendable goal, and I'm sure Hikigai will reach that. And in terms of kind of, if you could again wave a magic wand, what would be the one problem in healthcare that you would fix through AI?
Oh, that's a tough question. And that was the last question, I hope. I hope you're not
Because
giving me more tough ones.
so many things that AI can integrate with.
Sure.
But would it be regulatory, or could it be through the actual kind of patient care, as we mentioned, the personalization aspect?
Yeah, I think I got my answer. So here's the wand. And if I give a swish and if I'm able to bring every person should be provided healthcare, healthcare should be one thing that is free and affordable and actually be something that people shouldn't be paying money for. If I'm able to
Yeah,
create that difference with AI, and if Hikigai is one of the enablers for that, I think that's a great job done. Health is something without which humans don't exist. I think that's a lost case. If you don't have health, you don't have anything. You can make money, you can create, you can acquire knowledge, you can do all that. But if you don't have the health, then there's really nothing to talk about. So if it is made affordable and actually made free, then that's the biggest power of AI that we are able to see as a magic.
that's incredible. And there's health is wealth, so that is
Absolutely.
the main concept, and I think a lot of people do forget that. And having that forefront and that front end decision making that's within your company is, I think, what will really help and take you guys forward. But no, amazing, love. It's been incredibly insightful, and you're really building the future of actionable healthcare in real time. And for any people, any companies, I guess we haven't touched on those as a leaving comment. Any companies who might be in a similar position to yourself, building kind of deep technology solutions for healthcare or other complex industries, what would you tell them?
You're in the right space. Keep working at it. The journey is ongoing, and we definitely are going to be seeing this. The technology, the advent of AI is real, and the change is happening.
Amazing. And if someone was to find Hikigai or even connect with yourself, where could they find your company as well as reaching out to you?
Well, LinkedIn is probably the best way, and our website is probably another important, place that you could see, www.hikigai.ai. And let me spell that for you. It's Hikigai dot AI. That's where you can reach us out. And obviously, if you would be able to reach out to my LinkedIn profile, Lalitha Ramamoorthy, you would definitely be able to reach out to Hikigai also.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you, Lalitha, very much for being on the Into the Aetherius podcast. from Hikigai, and thanks for sharing all this valuable information and how healthcare AI is transitioning and what it really looks like on the front end. Again, appreciate your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Sharia. Thanks to Aetherius, and I am quite excited about what you have provided in the forefront through your podcast. I think it's very interesting to see that there is so many youthful minds that is actually working towards this effort. Thanks to technology that this is made happen, and I really hope we're able to connect with more people through the podcast. Once again, thank you very much for choosing us.
Thank you again. Anyone in the comments, look forward to hearing your insights as well. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Yep. Bye bye.